a journalist, and I'm traveling across my home country, Canada. On this journey, I'll be visiting some amazing signature experiences. My next stop lies in the center of Canada in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm here in Winnipeg, Manitoba at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. I've come here to learn more about what human rights means and why fighting for them is so important.
Well, here we are in the Israel Asper Tower of Hope. At night it glows like a beacon for everyone to come, and it's also like the icy tower that sits atop the mountain that houses all those stories of human rights.
The Canadian Museum for Human Rights is unique because it's the world's only museum that explores human rights as a concept. It opened its doors in 2014.
Most museums are based around a collection of objects. We're based around an idea. And so what we do is tell stories from all kinds of angles and aspects to illuminate that idea, which is human rights. The first line of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights appears very large in 2 locations in the museum. Human rights are different for different people, but at their fundamental level, it's about people having dignity and respect. And so we go from there and we explore, what actually are human rights? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights grew out of the devastation after the Second World War. But really, it's only in the last few decades that people have started calling it human rights and thinking about it in a particular way.
Ali Saeed is one of the people whose stories are told in the museum. He was a refugee and now lives in Winnipeg. Ali was a victim of the Red Terror in Ethiopia when Marxist military rulers tortured and murdered hundreds of thousands in the late 1970s.
My story is the story of the Red Terror. The Red Terror is similar to the Holocaust. The military dictators killed more than 350,000 people.
Ali was a prisoner in Ethiopia for 5 years because of his work in basic human rights.
2 months before they took me away, they took my brother. My brother was tortured worse than me. I found out later he and 41 others were rounded up and shot in the head. Then after 5 years of physical and mental torture, I was released.
Today, Ali visits the Canadian Museum for Human Rights regularly. So potentially you could know some of these people?
Oh yeah, I know them. Even my brother is here. My own brother is here.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why sometimes when I came to this museum, it's just like visiting them. This is what happened to me and to others. And I feel that here in the museum, this is the freest place in the whole world, so you can learn about Holocaust. Here in the museum, you can learn about Darfur, what happened. Here in the museum, you can learn about Ethiopia, about Red Terror. Here in the museum, you can learn the story of indigenous people. And here in the museum, you can learn about human being.
Mary Kershane's story is also shared in the museum. She is an Indian residential school survivor who now lives in Winnipeg.
It wasn't that I was so much physically abused or even sexually abused as others had experienced. It was the loss of familial upbringing. As we were growing up, that was taken away from us. Our childhood was taken away. And those are the type of little desks. See the desks? That was the type of desk that we had. I didn't see my mama for a whole year.
Mary Korsheen is a resilient survivor of the Indian residential school system in Canada, where children were forcibly removed from their homes and sent to church and state-run schools right from the 1830s up until 1996. The intention of Indian residential school was to literally take the Indian out of the child.
I was stripped of my identity, I was stripped of my language, and I was stripped of my culture systematically. So you tell me if that's cultural genocide. Yes, it is.
Do you think that today with the museum and the display that people are learning about it more, they're talking about it more?
Yes, they are talking about it more and they're learning about it. So we have a long road ahead of us to, not just talk about it, but to do something about it. Residential school should have never happened, and today we are fighting that cause.
The stories at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights has really taught me about the power and resilience of the human spirit and how important education is so that these tragedies never happen again.